You think you know what your anchor point is. I beg to differ. What I have found in the past hour of shooting is that I thought I knew what it was, but it really wasn't as good as it could be. We all know that you can anchor on your face using this V shape, having one knuckle on the bottom and one knuckle on the side. Some people put the webbing between these two fingers in the corner of their jaw and flatten it out. Some people, they're more vertical. Some are more under their jaw like this. I like to be like a 45. But really, the question is, how do you know that your anchor is really right? So, not that it looks right, but it also feels right, and that your bow is set up around that. So what I found is I generally run my hand up really high for a loop that is maybe on the long side, but definitely when the peep is too low. I will like cram my hand up like this. And if I do not close my eyes and really make sure this is right first, before, tying everything in, then I'm just going to have misalignment issues. I'm not going to shoot my best. I'm going to, get the back half perfect on some shots, and then when the shot breaks, the front half is going to feel terrible. And then shots where the front half is right, it feels like your anchor is off back here. So the remedy is close your eyes, make sure that you really firmly put this V, one knuckle under, one knuckle on the side, and then that webbing back here, make a fist, punch yourself, and then flatten this out. Put that on your face at full draw, and then really make sure that the string is lightly touching your nose and that your hand twist is perfect. So in this clip, you'll see where I come to full draw, I anchor, and then my hand kind of rotates very flat, and then I shoot. So now I want you to see how it looks when I do this test. So I've got my hand right, got my grip right. Get to full draw, okay? And then put the hand, mash it in my anchor, and then just face. Just like that. And what I did was, I was like, okay, let's throw a really long loop on, longer than I would want, so the string is off my nose. Okay. And then let's shove the peep up really high to where we know it's too high at any given time, since my tendency is always to force my hand up to make a lower peep work. So it turns out the 1/4 inch that I moved it up is actually perfect. And then I went from a 0.93 inch loop to it's like a 0.89, something like that. And what I use for that is this. So basically I will measure inside here without the knock on to the edge of the loop, and I will pull it until it does not move anymore on the measurement. And that's how I measure my loops. I know there's other tools out there to do that, but I like to be very precise. For me, within like 0.025 of an inch, I can feel that with every release. So, and it makes a big difference, especially with face contact. On a large scale, it's huge. Like you can visibly see a fit difference. But on a micro scale, it's a feel thing as well. So, but yeah, when you're setting this up, shove the peep up very high, loop long, anchor, string off the nose, untie this bottom knot, shorten it up, burn it in using your pliers, retie it, pull it with your D-loop pliers until the string just starts to kiss your nose. Now, certain D-loop materials do not allow you to do that, so the loop that I use is BCY 23. I'll show you actually on a piece of loop now how this works. Say I want to burn this in. I've untied it and then just put the flame on there. Heat up the ball, and instead of the ball drooping off, Just going to kiss up on the pliers. You can let this burn for as long as you want. I usually shake it out about now. Tap it with the lighter. Tap it with my index finger. And there you have it. It's not going to break off. So you can actually micro adjust your loop down. That's my whole process there. And yeah, just close your eyes. Make sure your knuckle is really under your jaw, not just kind of there. Really force it. Like, be very forceful with your anchor when you're setting up your bow. But afterwards, when you're performing, when you're actually shooting, to practice and you're focusing on your aim, instead of focusing on mashing your hand on your face, just let it lightly come to it in the same spot. So let's shoot a couple arrows and see how this works out. Figuring out this release setup, it's rather new to me. There's a fine line between trying too little and trying too much with any given thing in archery. So I try to ride that line as well as I can. Focus on what I control, but at the same time, let it happen. That is money. You should have seen my target 2 or 3 days ago. It was very bad. I took a break for about a week, focusing on my Ironman training. I'm getting ready for Ironman Chattanooga in 5 weeks, and I've committed to just going crazy hard on my training and picking the bow back up. So that's been really healthy for me. It's helped me a ton, especially with my breath and stuff like that. That deserved to be there. I mean, it's a 10, but it's not an X. But it deserved to be there. I've also been playing with my grip. So I've went from, like, an indoor season, I was running like this. And then for a little bit, I was running 3 fingers on the front. Then at Reading, I started running 2. Now I'm running 1, just to get that stop sign effect. And I'm probably going to put a O-ring reference. Tim Gillingham has a good video on this. On the front, I use like a 23 diameter arrow cut that I put under my grip tape to put my finger on. I really like that. You just have to get used to it. It's very different. You may think that you're putting your hand in the grip the same way every time, but that thing will really like tell you, hey, I'm putting my hand in the grip the same way every time, to the point where you might have that setting wrong and might need to scoot it around until you get it just right. Oh, right there, X, inside out, 60 yards. That's what I'm talking about. You should have seen my groups earlier. I mean, just no connectivity of Phorm. Like, Phorm is just like I'm doing this, and I'm trying to pull here while like holding this up. Another thing that you can notice is as you execute, you might find your hand will want to return to where it really wants to be, and then your peep will start to, if your peep is like middle and then it starts to be low and then it breaks when the shot's low, you're going to get these high misses that you can't explain. And then if it's the opposite, where the peep is high at the end of the break, especially with shooting a hinge, that's the issue you're going to have there. So you have to make sure that your peep tube stays centered on the target at the beginning and end of the shot as close as possible. So that's the caveat. With a longer loop, I feel like you get a lot more peep travel play as you're making your shot. But when you shorten that loop up, it keeps everything really tight. But the problem is, if you shoot too short of a loop and you start too short too fast, a lot of times you're not going to get this back shoulder in place and you're back seated before you raise the anchor. So for me, I get that back shoulder in place, drop down, come back up, and then start long, keep that technique, and then kiss this together. So that's how I get my loop length. That's how I get my peep height, all my anchor stuff. I I personally run it through the corner of my mouth, string on the tip of my nose where it feels right, and then this hand anchor, especially one knuckle under. I sent one in the wood today, by the way, so that sucked. I moved my loop and everything quite a bit and didn't think about that. But yeah, that's the group I've got with that setup after moving, really checking in with my anchor point. Just got that 1.9, big improvement. So another caveat to this, to making sure your shot is dialed in, is part of it is practice. When you're first starting out, you have to practice a lot. You gotta make sure you know your anchor is good. But over time, you're going to think that things are right, and then they might be off. I'm very experienced, and that is sometimes a bad thing. So I have to make sure that, when I'm shooting my bow, I step in as if I've never shot a bow before, and I question everything. It's kind of like me with my triathlon coach. I'll ask her questions about things, and she'll be like, that doesn't really matter. I'm asking her questions about crank length on a bike, how many gear ratios and all this. And it's like, she's like, just go ride your bike sometimes. So it depends on who you are. If you're relatively new, just shoot your bow. But if you're at a level where it's like, okay, I know I should be shooting a certain score. I know I should be around this margin, but you're just not there, let me know. Go visit championarcheracademy.com. I've got tons of information there about shooting a bow, whether you're a target archer or a bow hunter. I firmly believe in my process for shooting. It works for everyone, but you do have to put in the work. But if you've never really set up your bow, really fit your bow to you, really learned how to actually tune it to you after you fit it to yourself, and then how to repeat that cycle of, okay, does my bow fit me good? Does my bow feel good? Not just hit good. Does it tune good? Great. Do I get away with certain shots? When you figure out the answer to all those questions and you just keep going through that cycle, that's when you're going to get better. You cannot just shoot. Like in the beginning, yes, shoot, but you have to have a process for how you get better. For me, I call it the FTS system, fit, tune, shoot. And that's the core of what I teach inside of the academy. So if you guys are interested, comment below, go to the website, click the link in this video. It will be in the description, championarcheracademy.com. We'll see you soon.